Yo, 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 what's going on? This is the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back with another ShoPowSho. I am Kuyapi, aka Patrick Michael Strange, the Babinka Boy, the Adobro, and the leader of the Holla Holla Homies in the Center Gang. And of course, I can't do this alone without the amazing Ates, the Lechon Ladies, the Tocino Terminators. I'm talking about Cataphoric and Viva Valentina. What's up, ladies?
Hello, Patrick.
Hey, we got another amazing show today. I'm so super excited. I've been a fan of hers for a very long time. I'm just going to speed this up because I can't wait to see her again. All I know is today made my day because she already kind of knew me. So let's bring her on. You're going to be excited. I'm all excited. Let's go. Tamlyn Tomita. Hey.
Yo. Maraming salamat po for having me. Oh my God. Thank you so very much, all the fellow and sister nerds of color. It's been a great ride to watch your show evolve, and I'm just so pretty proud to be on here with pretty Pinoys and Pinay. So let's go, Filipino power!
All right,
awesome.
Let's kick this off. Viva Valentina, you know what to do. Here we go.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. We always want to know, where are you from? But like, where are you really from?
Where am I from? Where am I really from? Well,
like, where are your parents from?
Long story short, my father is a second generation JA, Japanese-American, born here in the SFB, San Fernando Valley. And he was a U.S. Army guy. And in between the Korean and Vietnam Wars, he met and fell in love with my mother, who is Okinawan Filipina. Who was singing American songs. That's how she learned English at the USO club in Okinawa, Japan, because after the war, that's where her family is from. So she was singing. This U.S. Army Nisei guy comes in, walking in, goes, she's singing, "Oh, Danny boy." And he goes, "Dinga, dinga, dinga. I love you. I want to marry you. You're going to have my babies." And they married. They had me, and he brought us back home to San Fernando Valley. So literally, I am from the San Fernando Valley, but I was born at a U.S. Army base in Okinawa, Japan. So that's my long story short. I am a graduate of Granada Hills High School. So John Elway, Denver Broncos, UCLA Bruin all the way. Before I'm a Laker, Dodger, Kings fan. So that's who I basically am. I'm super noisy. I'm a proud Japanese, Okinawan, Filipino girl from the Valley. So any day, pick a card, I'll choose and pick up and win with that card. So thank you so much. It's like, oh my God.
I love it. So what would your parents tell us about a young Tamlyn? Let's start growing up, the seed, a young seed into, before we get to the now and everything like that. So from 1 to 10. What would your parents tell us about a young Tamlyn?
Be proud of who you are. Be kind. Always think of your family. Never start a fight, but always end the fight. Take care of your younger brothers and sisters. Honor your elders. Make sure you clean up after yourself and clean up with others. And just wake up with a smile, because that's the best way to start a day.
Okay.
Awesome.
Pretty simple.
Were you like an outgoing kid? Like, did you kind of know from the get-go that you were going to be like entertainment or?
No. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted, and specifically,
I'm a teacher.
Really? Oh my
I'm an
God.
English teacher.
I mean, if teachers, I wanted to be a history teacher, and specifically junior high school in my lingo, or middle school in the current lingo, because that's when I think a lot of kids decide whether or not to be a good kid or a bad kid. And it was really important to me when I saw, kids of, that 12, 13, 14-year-old age. It's like trying to choose. And it's like, you can choose the good way. It can be the hard way, but it'll serve you well, because you're going to be a part of the community. You're going to be part of your family, and as well as being yourself, the individual. So that's what I was always pushing for.
Awesome.
I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Get hydrated. So young Tamlyn, because we like to go on that journey of your upbringing before we get to the career, to see if there's like any nuggets of or just kind of like highlights that would show that you were going to go into what you got into later on in life.
Like what did you like growing up? How did you know what kind of person, I guess, or what kind of kid were you?
I was pretty athletic. So I'm sorry, I didn't answer your question before. Outgoing, but I was just noisy. Not being able, I wasn't, really comfortable with talking to strangers, but I always was able to look out, because my mother, being an immigrant, she wasn't comfortable with her English. So and this is an immigrant kid story, right? Usually that you have to interpret for your parents, especially on the one-on-one at the grocery store, at the gas station, or with the church members and everything like that. So that forced me to be outgoing or to speak up on behalf of my mom. But I was always, more playing around in the yard, playing soccer or basketball or throwing the football, and being, super noisy and super competitive. But in terms of going into going into entertainment, I think it was just a natural flow for me because I originally wanted to be a teacher, was to tell stories. I wanted to be a history teacher. And that means when I did Karate Kid 2, it was like, oh, you got to figure out the history of your character, and then you're brought to the script. And then that's what you're supposed to do, is play out the script. So it was a natural kind of transition. And this is in the 80s, right? And so it was about learning how to better portray Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, man, because, it's like I'm part of a legacy. I'm part of a road, a journey for better representation. And knowing that in the 80s, we're just playing, what is it? Well, I think we called it gooks, gangsters, and geishas back then.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, gooks, gangsters, and geishas. And that's all we were limited to. But, and we're here in 2021, and we're finally seeing immigrant stories or coming of age stories featuring Asian Americans and Pacific Islander Americans. And that's where we're supposed to be right now. It's like Americans of every color, of every creed, of every race are here. And we are acting as bridges to our mother countries if we choose to do so. But, first and foremost, we're all American. That's the gist of my story, is just trying to push that agenda. Is like we growing up with, with Bruno Mars or Kanye West or Madonna or Michael Jackson. This is the timeline. We're all, in that culture mix of, that what's a good word? Because everybody says like a stew. I like to say it's like melting pot. Truthfully, specifically in Pinay culture, it's more like pinakbet, because you just throw everything in, right? And you put a little patis or something and bagong. It's like, oh yeah, it's really super yummy. But that's what it is. It really is that delicious gumbo. It's pertinent to every culture that, for mamas or the nonas or the grandmas or the abuelitas to throw everything in the refrigerator into one pot, and they somehow make it all delicious. That's what America is.
Yes. I love that. Because you're such a vocal advocate for us and for that representation in Hollywood. I can't thank you enough for that. So I want to flip it back to the youth, because we have like a method to our madness. So since we brought up culture, what were some of the early things about learning yourself with you having the Okinawan heritage and your mother being of mixed Okinawan and Filipino heritage that you recall growing up in America and San Fernando Valley? How did they teach that to you?
Yeah, because here in the, in San Fernando Valley. So I grew up specifically, if anybody knows of the Valley, Pacoima, which is a lower class, mostly mixed neighborhood. Now it's mainly Latino. But in grade school, we moved to Northridge, which was a more Jewish American neighborhood, a little bit more middle class. And so, we weren't, we were probably only one of 4 families that I knew growing up in that second, in the second move. So, knowing that I was pegged differently, it's like, oh my God, Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these. It's like, blah, blah, blah. And I would get into fights. But my father would just say, just realize that you're special because people can peg you. But you have to develop the eyes to see the specialness in everybody else. And I go, oh yeah, even though they're white, even though they're black, even though that they're, brown skinned, I don't know where they specifically come from unless I learn. So learning, their last names or learning what kind of foods they were bringing to lunch. Because, we're all sharing rice balls kind of thing. It's like, oh, how do you eat your rice? The Howleek people would say, oh, I like my rice with butter. It's like, ooh, the Latinos would like theirs with rice and beans. I'm being very simplistic here. Middle Easterners would like their rice perfumed with herbs. There's always the debate between Chinese rice, Filipino rice, Japanese rice, Korean rice, Vietnamese rice. So it's like Asia is the motherland of rice. So we know what we're talking about. So it's like, again, growing up and seeing all the different iterations would provide me that foundation with seeing everybody as the individual, but then if they're proud and then say, yes, I hark back to the Ilocano culture of the Philippines, I go, oh, ding, 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 that's me. But if they're from the Visayan, or if they're from Seoul, or if they're from Chiang Mai, Vietnam, Thailand, or if they're from Ecuador, that's what was the real kind of listing for me as to, oh my gosh, I get to know the world through people who embrace their culture, living in the Valley, living in LA, living in California, living in the United States.
Yes. So it seems like you were always this self-aware and self-driven of knowing your culture and being proud of your culture. I'm loving that.
Definitely.
I'm loving that. Because some people
definitely
wait till college before they kind of realize certain things, or afterwards, or sometimes it doesn't even hit them. We've had some guests that are just now getting to know more about themselves. So I love that. Kind of
and again, it's everybody's own self exploration and journey and discovery. So I can't knock them. Sometimes I'll side eye them and go, "Excuse me, what kind of Filipino are you? You don't know what adobo is." I'm not going to say you don't. It's okay if you don't know how to cook adobo, because you know that the titas always know how to cook the best adobo. Mm-hmm. But it's like it's that kind of journey to if a person is interested in their mother culture, it's like you just praise them and say, yay, you're going to be, you're going to explore new worlds and new civilizations, to boldly go where you haven't gone before. But it's okay. It's absolutely okay to be just fighting for the good old red, white, and blue here, because that's the journey, that's the choice, that's the privilege we all have as Americans.
Yes, love it. Okay, so we'll go now to school, high school, Tamlyn.
High school.
One of the big conversations we have on the show is, we kind of get geared, especially as young Filipinos. We become a lawyer, an accountant, or a doctor. What was your path before you went to college that maybe your parents were trying to push you into, or did you have your own idea and plan?
My mother always, my mother should have been a doctor if she had that opportunity to be a doctor. She would have been a brilliant doctor because she's very focused. She's very methodical. She's very analytical. She's a brilliant cook because she knows how this. She knows how to do it. So she always, impressed upon me that she would like me to go into the medical field, but it wasn't driven. She wasn't the stereotype, or what has been profanely named the tiger mom. She's like, but she always asked me, to do your best to, go for A's. It's okay, because she'd be witnessing us, her three kids doing the best they can, homework wise, athletics wise, social service wise, and everything. But I did go to UCLA intending to be a nurse because Filipina, because I saw whenever I would have the opportunity to go into a hospital or go, visit with other ates, or in my mom's side of the family, the Filipino side of the family, most of them were in the medical field, and most of them did work as nurses. And it's like everybody, forgets about the nurses. They praise the doctors, but it's the nurses who do the daily attending to the care of patients, of literally taking care. They're not the ones who are doing the surgery or, having to answer the medical questions. They're doing all the work in caring. And I wanted to be one of those, angels on earth, but I didn't have the grades. So that's why I went to, I diverted to teaching because I knew I wanted to be of some kind of service, of some kind of returning back to the community and just passing along what little knowledge I know about down to the younger generations.
Love it. So in college is self-discovery as well. Was there, can you tell us just college, Tamlyn, and finding yourself as well at that point?
College was, again, the best school in the world, UCLA, Bruins. For me, my big memory in going to UCLA was that UCLA provided me two really important opportunities in the life of Tamlyn Tomita. There was a Urasenke tea ceremony class offered in 1984, in the spring of 1984. And it wasn't just part of the regular curriculum. I guess a teacher assistant or somebody who was a guest professor wanted to bring this course in. And I signed up. It's like, yeah, I'm going to take this tea ceremony because I want to get more closer with what tea ceremony is. I had no idea but it sounded intriguing. I took it. And then the year after was the Karate Kid audition. So that was one thing. It was not connected, but I had that knowledge in me when I auditioned for Karate Kid too. So God is looking after me. Number two is that also UCLA provided me my, actually three things. Two important connections to Asian America is that Dr. Bob Nakamura led the Asian American Film Studies class, and it totally bust up my world of what it meant to be Asian in America. It was like, oh my God. Of course, we knew, Flower Drum Song and Sayonara, but I didn't know the breadth and depth of films and Asian American actors, since the 1910s, with the Sesue Hayakawa and Suru, his wife Suru. So that was at the beginning. Anna Mae Wong, that was my first introduction. It's like, when are you going to ever get to see these films? Because they're not going to be playing on TV, at home. The second thing was my first Asian American Women's Studies class was conducted by Dr. Judy Chu before she ran to become Monterey Park City Council person. And now she's ascended to become a California congressperson right now in the House of Representatives. So those are two important points. Dr. Bob Nakamura, Asian American Film Studies, and Asian American Women's Studies class with Dr. Judy Chu. Those are the three main points that were pertinent to my evolution in becoming an Asian American and becoming aware of, again, the vastness of our history, but the interconnectedness of our histories alongside other communities of color. At UCLA, it was like, I would see, this is UCLA, it's like the little sister to Berkeley. So it was like protest schools. And my father would sometimes jibe me and say, oh, you're going to little junior red schoolhouse. And I go, yeah, because we're trying to fight for what's right. And this is what kids are doing right nowadays. Climate change, racial justice, social justice. I remember going and seeing, the Black Students Union marching or La Raza marching. It was like, or, this is what a part of blending in and saying, wow, there are Filipinos, there are Vietnamese, there's Koreans, there are Chinese, Taiwanese, Japanese, like we're all in this together and trying to find the voice and really uniting in linking arms in arms with our other brothers and sisters attending UCLA. So that was, that it's a foundation for each and every one of us. You have it. Just grasp that opportunity and just gobble it all up, man.
Yes, I love it so much. Man, I wish I grew up on the West Coast instead of being a military kid, because I would have loved that, to be around all of that. That's just so amazing. What was the hardest lesson? Maybe, to flip it to the other side. What was the hardest lesson you learned in college before,
racism was still really simmering underneath the surface. Is like, it was just, and it's not that blatant racism where people will call you names and stuff, which is happening right now. these trying to be polite here. But again, it's just how they said, they would say early in my career, it's like, oh, Asians aren't funny. Or, it's like, can you be a little bit more racy, or can you be a little bit more assertive? And it's like, excuse me? It's like, what do you not see here? It's like, do you want me to just roll out with all the swearing and just bust your face up or pull out a knife? It's like, what do you think? So it was that kind of fitting into the box of what Asian Americans are, especially for casting directors, or, just with regular folks. It's like there was a lot of guys who thought that I was cute when I was at UCLA, but they wouldn't date me because, she's Oriental. And it's like those would come out of conversations that I would hear from hearsay. And it was like, wow. And it kind of, it did sadden me, but it also opened my eyes to the fact that I really have to put on or wipe the rosiness of my glasses, because it's not as kind or not as nice as I think it would be. It's a little bit more realistic. It's a little bit more gritty. And to really look at other people who really carry the brunt of that's, the evil of racism and classism too. It's like, if you're burdened with those two things, it's like, you got to uplift them, man. You got to uplift them and give them a chance, give them the voice box, give them their voice, and you raise your arms in unison with them. That's what was really sad. It's like, we still got the fight, so continue on and struggle.
Definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
Before now, we're getting to your career point, but I actually remembered a question that I wanted to ask because it's so profound. Your father was a POW.
No, my father was not a POW.
He wasn't a POW.
He was not a POW. He was in the U.S. Army. The years between, he was really fortunate. Okay. The years between the Korean and the Vietnam War, and so he was, he was drafted. He served his 4 years, and he met and married my mom, and he stayed there another 2 years. I think.
Okay.
But interestingly enough, my father, sorry, Patrick Kuya. My father was the founder of Asian Task Force in the 1970s, which was an elite task force here at LAPD comprised of bilingual Asian American officers who can serve the communities in the 70s and 80s. Because at that time, if you know your histories, those were the second waves of Koreans, Filipinos, and Vietnamese to the States. And, from those countries, there was a little bit of a reticence of speaking to the police and reporting crimes against them, because the police were not seen as the good guys.
Yeah.
And so my father, he was going to become a pastor, a Christian pastor, but, for some reason, because he was athletic too, he got recruited by LAPD. And he said, this is what I'm going to do. And he formed alongside Jimmy Sakota, another Japanese-American police officer, an elite force of, I think, 9 or 10 bilingual Asian-American officers to serve the LA Asian-American communities, Korean, Vietnamese, Chinese, Taiwanese, and Japanese at that time. So that was the start of, again, another seed of serving the communities.
Okay. So I apologize. Yeah. I guess I got some of the stuff wrong. But that was going to be my follow-up, because I did see that he was a police officer. So what would be, again, like you said, kind of the police officer is always viewed as the man. What was a lesson that important lessons that he taught to you with that knowledge of, working the streets and from what
again, just know that we all live in a society. So be civil, be courteous, be kind. Always look out for our elders, because they're probably going to need some help. Guide the children, especially if they don't look, both ways before they cross the street. So that carries, those are our basic bricks of trying to look out for one another. I said it earlier, it's like, never start a fight. If somebody comes at you, it's like, don't, raise your hands, man. But if he or she strikes you, make sure you finish it, and call the police, get all the details. So, even today, when I'm driving around, I get such road rage still because oh my God, that's a fault of mine. But I practice looking at license plates when I'm driving and memorizing. It's like, because something could happen. It's like, oh, okay, that was a Subaru Ascent. I don't know what year it was, but the license plate was da 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 da, and that driver was, a 40-year-old man, with curly brown hair, with a gray mustache, and he was wearing, whatever. So I have that cop kid kind of attitude, but also it's in line with really caring for each other and looking. I grew up with the idea that the cops was your friends, and looking at, again, all the reports that we're dealing with across the nation is that there are a lot of bad apples in the police forces, and so we got to hold them accountable. And that's but again, I still believe, because I still truly believe, because I am a daughter of a cop, that they're the good guys, that they're there to protect and to serve. There was one thing that I think I retweeted, if you want to look it up. I'm not a law and order cop. I'm a protect and serve cop. That's what we have to remember. So, fight against the law and order mentality and go with the protect and serve mentality. That's what policing should be, is to protect and to serve the communities.
Love that. I completely agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So let's get into this career that happened by virtue of a pageant, if you will, that you had learned.
Yes.
Let's get to that moment now, if you can recall that for us.
1984. I was attending UCLA, doing my history, trying to get my history major into gear, and and the San Fernando Valley Community Center, of which my parents and family are a part of. They encouraged me to represent the San Fernando Valley in the Nisei Week Japanese Festival Queen pageant. This Nisei Week Japanese Festival is the longest running ethnic festival in the States since 1934, except for the interruption of World War II, of course, because they just bust us and imprison us, for those 3.5, 4 years. So it's the longest ethnic festival in the States. I ran and represented LA and the Southern California area as Nisei Week Queen, 1984. Then 1985 happens. The casting call for Karate Kid 2 came out after the success of the original Karate Kid movie, and I was on break. And one of the former queens of that Nisei Week pageant years ago asked me, along with other Nisei Week girls, to say, why don't you audition? And I go, I'm on break from UCLA. Yeah, let's go see what this is all about. It's like, so she gave us the script, or the sides, the scenes, and she had me dress in summer kimono because it was hella hot back then. It was like, oh my God. And I had to wear my hair long. Actually, there's the story that I could tell you. And I auditioned, for John Avildsen at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I had no idea what I was doing. But Helen Funai, she and I rehearsed the scenes, and he said, "Oh, I think you're going to go in for more auditions." And I go, "What?" And I bounced through all those rings, and I finally met Ralph Macchio for the chemistry test, and I got the part. So that's a basic, the long story short of my story. But I think another reason that made me stand out from all the other girls was because my Lola, my full-blooded Ilocano Lola, Benjamina Damilig, she asked me when I first saw her, when I was reunited with her at 12 years old, she asked me never to cut my hair until I was 25 or got married. So I never cut my hair. So that scene where I undo my hair for the tea ceremony is because they took advantage of the fact that I had this long hair.
Wow.
And they, if I remember, they adjusted that scene to allow that to happen, because it's like, we're going to keep it up until the moment. And I go, yeah, okay. And so again, I thank my
remember
Lola.
that so vividly.
Yeah. I thank my Lola for keeping me to that promise, to not cut it. And I still have that long, that long piece, that long, what do you call it? Ponytail of hair.
Yeah.
Because
Ponytail,
they
like-
just, yeah, exactly.
My dad said that he fell in love with my mom. Well, he fell in love with my mom, but he always loved her long hair.
Yeah.
And as she got older, she cut it. All the Filipino women, they get shorter and their hair gets shorter.
Exactly.
So I always grew my hair out long, and I was like, oh, it's because Dad always likes my long hair, and he's like, your hair's so pretty, and
So pretty.
now I'm like, I haven't cut it in years, and I was like, I'm never gonna cut it now.
Never, it's your choice, whatever you deem it is you. It's like, it's a part of you. So don't let anybody, that's the beauty of it. And now, because we're in pandemic, it's like we couldn't get to the hair salon. So, oh my God. But
She's got a mind of her own. So
yeah, exactly. It's like, and then the thing about it is my ponytail still smells like me. I could, it's still, so that's one thing that's really cool about it. It's like, sometimes I have the box and I'll open it and I go, that still smells like me. Yeah. So it's like, oh my God. And my mom had the same thing. Her hair was long when my father fell in love with her. So there's a picture of her with her hair braided to one side, and she's singing very seductively, not seductively because she's a good girl, but she has those, the beautiful, half Japanese, half Okinawan and half Filipino eyes, and she's going like this. Yeah.
I love it.
Oh wow. Oh man, so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So this was your first acting experience. No theater before this or anything like that?
I had no desire. I cannot sing like very good Filipino girls can. The only opportunities I had to sing was in church for Christmas and Easter musicals. That's it. I had no aspirations. My mother sings beautifully. My father and his family sings beautifully.
About dancing? Tinkling? Well, you dance. Well, no, you did dance. No?
No. So tinkling, I always was fascinated with that. So I would jump in, but I didn't have a lot of Filipino friends in the Valley because they were always they're all here in Glendale or in Carson in the South Bay. So I didn't have a lot of Filipino friends. But when I found it, I was like, oh my God, I gotta glom onto you. But for Karate Kid, I was lucky enough to participate in the Obon festivals, which are the Buddhist festivals, but because our Buddhist temple and our Christian church are pretty much in neighbors to the community center, we all supported each other. The church, the temple, and the community center all had events that you're trying to support financially those institutions because they were all community-based. They all serve the communities.
Wow. I'm gonna follow that up when we get to Cobra Kai later on, because there's a additional question to add to that. So then was the acting bug, and did you get infected by the acting bug after Karate Kid, or did it come after later on? Now that you're in Hollywood and now people are calling upon Tamlyn, we love this girl, she's amazing. Did you get infected then, or was it till later?
It was in fact, well, again, I'll be fully transparent because I did, of course, it's like, you get discovered, and this movie that you first do, without wanting to be an actor, it's like, oh my God, it blew up. It was like, oh my God, I'm the greatest thing ever. And my head got big. And if it wasn't for my family to say, excuse me, you got to take out the trash. You got to wash the dishes. Can you pick up your laundry? It's like, oh my God, it's like, wow. So that, that's what I'll always be grateful for, because I rode such a thing. And I think, it happens with every actor. It would happen to anybody who had that kind of opportunity. It's like, you just think you're the greatest shit ever. It's like, oops, sorry.
No, you're good.
You just think you're the greatest. Yeah, your greatest thing since sliced bread. And I had, again, the benefit of family and friends to say, you got to decide if this is what you want to do. And I go, this is what I want to do because it tells stories. And it tells stories that are important, and I can have some kind of voice, some kind of power to adjust stories that don't reflect upon my family, first of all, and my community at large, because I kind of understood that if I'm going to play, you know, a geisha, it's like, oh, really? I have to have a counter on that same show or have some kind of voice and go, excuse me, you're putting a geisha, a Japanese character in a cheongsam, in a Chinese collared high dress. I go, you know, get your costuming right, and get your story right, because geishas don't speak Chinese or whatever. That sounds simplistic, but again, you know, in the 80s and the 90s, like it was incumbent upon me to learn as much about the characters that they were asking me to audition for and get it right. You know, get it right. And that's what I'd always tried to see it as. So it was like, not the, when Kuya is saying, you know, do you get the bug? I love acting because it's the homework that I love. I love developing the character. I love figuring out, you know, who she was, where she came from. Exactly the same questions you guys are asking me. And that's the fun part in being an actor. And then having the opportunity to look across, you know, you look across the camera or with your castmate and really connect. And if there is literally some kind of magic there that happens with fellow actors when, you know, you really sense that a scene is working, that the story really works.
Totally.
Oh, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Which you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I mean, you know, it's the 80s and, you know, there's not great representation. Can you speak a little bit about like your experience as like a woman of color specifically? I mean, you really had like two fronts of things to face.
Yeah. As a woman, again, and being an Asian woman, it's, you know, there are those stereotypes that they go, oh, she's so sweet, she's so nice, she's such a pushover. Just, you know, dress her up pretty and have her smile. And it's like, that's not satisfactory. That's not correct. Yes, there are those nice, sweet, you know, very, very innocent and quieter girls. Quieter girls. And absolutely, I'm not disparaging them, but there's a whole spectrum that you're not giving voice to. And I'm interested in giving voice to those who have not had a voice, and to stop perpetuating that this is the only box that Asian women fit in. That was what I was trying to bust out of. So when I almost made it a point to start swearing on purpose and to start being more physical, because I wanted people to bust out of that idea that, you know, oh, I need saving. Oh, I need help. It's like, no, fuck that, man. I could take care of myself and I could take care of you at the same time. So let's go. That was the kind of attitude. And I think you could tell, you know, I still try to have that, but I try to facilitate it a little bit more gracefully because I'm older, but also a little bit more sensitively, because I don't want to disparage people or denigrate people or diminutize people who choose to be more quiet, who choose to be more demure, because that is their experience, that is their life. But I want to broaden their perspective. I want to broaden the picture of what it means to be a woman of color, an Asian woman, an Asian American Pacific Islander woman. That's, you know, those are the kinds of strata I try to rise through and break through the stars.
Yes.
Oh,
chills.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'm ready to go fight something now.
I know, right?
Right now.
Joy Luck Club. How important that was.
The mean girl, the bitchy girl. Oh my God. I love that movie. I love that story. I'm just so glad that Joy Luck Club is getting a little bit more of a revival, because I believe it's 30 years.
Something like that. I think
35 years. I guess it's the book's release, I remember. And Amy Tan's documentary, Unintended Memoir, was just world premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, directed by Jamie Redford, who unfortunately passed before seeing the premiere. So Joy Luck Club, and I think I could let this out. Amy is involved in a sequel and or a series, I don't know which one, of Joy Luck Club, where you see the daughters become mothers.
Ooh.
So they have grown daughters. So it's like a three-generation. So Amy is intending, she would like for all 8 actresses, the mothers and the daughters, reprise their roles, but then have a new set of granddaughters. So that's in the works. We're still good friends, great friends. Ming, Rosalind, Lauren, Tsai, Q, Francis, Lisa, Vivian, we're all good friends. So it's a real treasure, I think, in the Asian American canon.
Oh my God, absolutely. That is the Joy Luck Club. I remember seeing that movie as a child and not like even understanding everything that was going on, but just knowing that like it was for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like watching them play mahjong and being like, oh, that's what mom and aunties do. Like that's what we all do. Like that's it. This is us. And then like reading the book in school. I think I read it in high school at that point, and I was like, I've seen this movie. This is for me.
Yeah.
So that like to have it grow and then continue on would that would be wonderful.
Yeah, and it's a slice of Asian America, specifically West Coast San Francisco, but it doesn't represent all of Asian America, and it's only about women. So it's there, and hopefully it inspires other storytellers to put it out there, and that's what we're seeing. It's that's a continuation of the seeds that have been planted, and we're getting to see. Aquafina, we're getting to see Crazy Rich Asians. We're getting to see Minati, from with Stephen Yeun. We're getting to see a whole plethora of the seeds that were laid by the writers and the film and television pieces that we were able to see back in the 80s and 90s. So it's all in growth. The forest is blooming.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I watched Over the Moon this past weekend. Oh my goodness.
Wait till you see Raya in the
I can't wait. I'm
right?
so excited for that. Like just having these films come out, like I get so hyped.
Yeah.
And it was adorable. My son was like, you want to watch this movie with me? And I'm like, okay. And we watched it and he's like, aren't all their voices beautiful? Wouldn't it be great to meet them? And I was like, yeah, their voices are beautiful. And then I was like, I wonder if we can meet them. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's Philippa Sue. No, we're not going to meet her anytime soon. Maybe in the future.
you never know. You never know. It's such a weird, set of circumstances we find here. It's still in pandemic and in Zoom. And it's like, you never know. A Zoom room you'll see. It's like, because I pop it, because I think all of us have been popping into Zoom rooms that are of interest. And it's like, oh my God, Tamlyn Tomita was in the room. And I go, I'm just here as a participant because I want to learn too. And it's like, yeah. But Over the Moon, Raya. I think it was just announced today that there's another animated feature that I just saw that Ming Na and BD Wong and Matthew Reese are going to voice. And I think it's Chinese specific. It's an animated feature that's going to be released with their voices. So again, it's like it's all coming, man. And again, we feel seen, even though they may be mother country specific. It's with our voices, and it's for the American market, which is the most important market. But it goes out into the world as an American piece. So it's good things come to those who wait, and we have been waiting, and we have been doing the good work as communities aligned with others, and we're just seeing that our time is coming. But all along the flip side is that we're seeing a whole rise in anti-Asian racism, and we've got to be able to speak out against that. And again, most importantly, link arm in arm and not say it's a Black against Asian thing or a white against Asian thing or Latino against Asian thing. It can be Asian against Asian thing. It's just against this whole idea that we are the recipients of this racism because of the previous administration and the use of Kung Flu, China virus, Karate Kid virus. It's like, this is the kind of fight that we have to collectively align ourselves and say, this is not right, especially those crimes committed against our elders. So that's the ones. It's like you're not a good human being if you commit those crimes against your own grandparents. These are our grandparents. These are the persons who built our society, who built our culture, who built the food, who have served us while we were growing up. So let's look at them as our grandparents. So let's treat them well.
Yes.
Girl, tell it. It's like there's certain questions I wanted to go, but I'm like, I just let her go. She's Thank you, Tamlyn.
That's a really great like tie between the fact that this visibility has been kind of building. It's been building for some time, but it wasn't even that long ago that Kubo and the Two Strings came out, and that was like a completely white cast voicing Asian. All these Asian characters, and everyone was like, oh no, it's great, that's fine, it's totally fine. And then now, we've even over a few years, we've gotten to the point where it's like, we're better than this, we can do better than this. But all of this like backlash racism against us for not, I guess, being model minorities anymore, for not like quietly staying in our lane and letting things happen. And that's, it's hand in hand.
Yeah.
We're becoming more visible in the picture that everybody should be able to see and accept. It's like the picture is much more broader than a lot of people are used to. And it's kind of scary because it forces them to broaden their scope, broaden their vision, literally open up their eyes because they don't want to, because it's so uncomfortable. It's like, it's much safer to live like a horse with blinders on. I don't have to deal with this. As long as my rider knows where to guide me, this is all I have to focus in on. This is what I'm going to get. This is how I'm going to be fed. This is how I'm going to succeed. I don't have to worry about this. But true freedom is being able to see everything and let your heart open up and say, wow, I was about to swear again. We're really all in this together. It's like, I don't have just one lane. It's like all our lanes are here. It's like, can you imagine what kind of power we have collectively if we all go towards and get to see the beautiful vista before us, and we get to all enjoy the stars at night, or the sunset before us, or the oceans. It's like, and gather all the food and clean up after ourselves and say, this is what we all can benefit from. This is not just me grabbing for myself and for my families and only the ones I love. It's like all of us can, be a part of this symbiotic kind of relationships with each other. It's like, see each other for the valuable person that they are, not what they can be, what they are, who they are. And they'll be able to see the value of who you are as well.
Oh, man. Love it. All right. So man, I'm just loving all these gems. So again, I want to thank you for Joy Luck Club for that representation. And then just being, again, the advocate for AAPI throughout your career and speaking up when they've tried to stereotype us. So I'm going to bring it to now Cobra Kai and why you chose to come back to Cobra Kai, because you almost didn't do it. And I love that you wanted to, have certain provisions made for you to come back to it, because you didn't get that say so when you originally took it, part two initially. So can we talk on that a little bit? And again, the importance of that. And then no, it was the dance. Yeah. Because again, you had the dance. I'm trying to think what we said earlier with the part two, because you had that dance, but then you had more of that when you came back for Cobra Kai. And then I think was imbued into that when you came back.
Yeah. And the thing about it, too, Kuya, is that it sounds so weird calling you Kuya because you're so much younger than me. But the matter of truth is that, again, just to be absolutely truthful and transparent, I didn't know diddly squat doing Karate Kid 2. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that I had a voice. First of all, going back to Karate Kid 2, when the scene where I'm showing Daniel-san the dance, the relationship between karate and dance, you know, da, 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 da. I made that up. There is no such dance, you know, that blends Japanese dance, odori, with karate. So me and my mom, luckily my mom, she knew that Okinawan song, and we made that dance pretty much the night before I was supposed to shoot it, because the choreographer didn't know that, you know, they were supposed to teach me a Okinawan karate dance. And I go, oh, that was a real quick lesson that I got again. And it goes back, and that was again, it's like, it was like a slap in the face. I was like, I got to come in prepared, especially if people don't know our culture.
Right.
So, and again, I have that privilege, that luxury, you know, the very lucky education that I have of Okinawa. So my mom and I made that song, made that dance up to that traditional Okinawan song. But then after the movie was released, there was a bunch of Okinawan Americans and going, that's not the dance that goes with that song. And I go, I know, I made that up. I'm sorry. So, you know, I didn't think that I was going to be seeing the reprise of Karate Kid franchise with Cobra Kai. But when it premiered on YouTube 3 years ago, it was like, oh, that's so sweet. You know, it was just on this side of cheese. Ralph, I knew, was honoring the show. Ralph only did the show because he had the voice at the table. He says, I'm not going to do this unless you honor the legacy of Mr. Miyagi, because it's not Daniel-san without Mr. Miyagi, especially in this Karate Kid world. So he held on fast to that. When they sent me the script of Cobra Kai in the spring of 2019, I said, this is great. I just need to know if I have permission to adjust some things here, because I want to better reflect and more authentically present Okinawan culture, because I'm that old now and I have that power and I don't have to do this unless you say yes. And they said yes. I go, please, we would love it. So I went to the Okinawan Association of America here in Gardena, California. And they said, oh yeah, we could teach you the correct dance to that song, to Tinsagunu Hanaya. And so that's what I did. I learned that dance, and that 2 seconds you see me dancing is the bit of dance that is authentic to the song. I threw in Okinawan phrases. There's Okinawan props that I flew over from LA to Atlanta where we're shooting, because I said, if we're going to be Atlanta, there's probably just going to be Japanese restaurant stuff, but I have Okinawan stuff. So let's use that. And they go, oh my God, thank you, Tamlyn. Wardrobe, you know, so I was trying to do as best I can in presenting Okinawa, especially shooting in Atlanta, Georgia. So that's an example of, you know, again, the fortuitousness, you know, what actor gets a chance to reprise a role 35 years later. So I know I'm very special in this position. Ralph knows Yuji knows Yuji. If you get a chance to talk with him, he retooled that script to what you see in Cobra Kai season 3, episodes 4 and 5, because he really retooled that. He did not want to be an echo or a reminder of what he was in 1985. He wanted to show that there was an arc, that there was much more of a playfulness, that there was a redemptive quality to him, that he knows he was just like, you know, a dick in Karate Kid 2, but that he learned his lesson. But then he still has that fire. He still has that pride. He still has that ego that, you know, is a daily lessons for any human man or woman.
God, I love that so much that y'all spoke up, because it just, as you know, as an actor, and as long as Hollywood has been around and just everything, we don't get that say, and then that you stand for something, or, you know, you stand for something instead of standing for nothing, and just to speak out for that representation just means so much. Us younger Asian actors live by the work you all have done for us, and I can't thank you enough, and it just means so much. Thank you, Tamlyn.
Welcome. You're welcome, Kui. And just to remind you again, I come from a very privileged position. I started out with with a hit movie out of the gate. And I know I didn't have to work as hard as my fellow brothers and sisters who struggle, because again, it's hard to speak up. But if you have it in you, speak up, just to know that you did, that you exercised using your voice. Even though the powers that be may not do what you asked for, at least you're practicing. At least you're saying what is true, what is correct, how we can move forward, how we can progress together. That's as important as making sure that they, serve, Filipino rice, not the sticky Japanese rice with our adobo. That's important. But again, practicing that to say, we eat with our fork and spoon in this way. We don't eat it Western style. That's important. It's again, just practicing using your voice, grasping your power, because someday you'll be able to use it. Someday you'll be able to wield that power, wield the sword that's inside of us and say, I get to be part of the progress forward. But progress yourselves, forward yourselves first. And that's what I encourage every single actor who has that benefit of culture behind her or him or her. That's super important. So thank you for what you laid upon me, but I also lay upon you that whatever you do in your journey is as important, because you're going to pass along this information to whomever you're going to come across.
Wow. Thank you. What more do you think needs to be done by the next generation? I love how active you are, which you've always done with the community, both speaking in Hollywood, but even outside of it with the activism and knowing what's going on in the world. And like we said, with the evil orange man that we finally have in office, I'm very vocal about it because I cannot stand him. And I love that you brought about Judy Chu, I think it was, because you're now an elector as well, and you got to cast that vote for Kamala, and then originally with with everything you're doing. That just, can you speak on the importance of activism and just what we should be doing for us, the younger generation?
Absolutely. Yes. Activism. It's again, finding your voice and uniting your voice with other voices. That's all it is. It's like, fight for what is right. Fight for what is best for all of us. It's to get off our own centeredness, whether it's not, my own individual ego or a particular race. It's about really providing equality and equity in practice, in seeing individuals as who they are, as fully fledged individuals, and respecting the cultures they claim and identify with. And I think that's part of the discussion that we're finding, nowadays. It's like, being an ate here, it's a practice for me still, because it's not natural, because I did not grow up with. When I introduce myself to a group, it's like, what are your pronouns? And I go, huh? And I go, oh yeah, she, her, yeah, she and her, right? She and her. But then I go, you know what? Wouldn't it be easier if we just called each other they? Or, because it's, we should all embrace our anima and animus, our male, our masculine and feminine identities. But then really, whenever I go back to my mother's house and how all Filipinos mix their he's and she's, it's like, it's so much easier. It's like, why do we attach such pride? It's like, I'm a she. Why couldn't she see that I'm a she? It's like, it's really not that important. I just see you as, Asako. I just see you as Kuya. I just see you as Kata. It's like, I just see you for who you are. It's not, I don't have to apply the he or she. So pronouns right now, the identify, it's something that's important to this generation, because we want to be seen. And it's like, let's go through that practice. The other, identifiers, cis or trans, male, female, non-binary. These are all important. So let's all practice, because it makes that, even if it's just one person in the group, feel included, feel seen. That's worth this practice. That's worth this time in saying, let's just all take the time to make this one person feel included, feel like he or she is a part of us. That's worth it.
Beautiful.
Yes. Wow. Oh, it's my hero is talking to me. That's all I know. She's
Oh my God.
amazing.
Oh my
Tamlyn, I
God.
can't write fast enough.
Yeah, if you
Tamlyn,
see Tina writing, it's because she's
it's
writing.
a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she takes notes for future
Yeah.
reference.
Oh my God. That's awesome. That's awesome. Didn't you guys record this though?
Oh, yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah,
she,
yeah.
Oh,
she
okay,
wants
okay,
them
okay.
both. She needs both. Yeah.
It's important to me.
I love your book. I have something like that.
I found a planner. Like, I love this like mystical moon or sun, and then
I
I found a
love it.
planner that matched, and I was like, oh,
You know what? My love's name is Daniel, by the way. Daniel's son. Yeah. He gave me those kinds of journals years ago, and I do treasure them. They're still in my, in our library, and I love them. So
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yay.
So
Tamlynisms now.
Tamlynisms. That's so great. What can we look forward to from Tamlyn Tomita coming up?
Wow. I have nothing to promote. I don't think so. Because of pandemic, I chose not to go up and again, I'm lucky that I didn't have to hustle. So I did not, except there was a small movie that I did do under the directorship of a young Taiwanese female director, Taiwanese-American female, Roxy Shi, S-H-I-H. I just forgot the title of the movie. I play a kick-ass lawyer. And it was through pandemic, so that was a real learning experience for me to learn how to shoot something in pandemic. But this little film company had been doing 5 films back to back to back. Same company, same crews, and they knew protocol. They got tested 3 times, if not 4 times a week, because it's every other day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the brand new world. Other than that, there's nothing to look forward to. There's a lot of issues that I'll be speaking out for. It's anti-Asian racism.
Mm-hmm.
There is a bone marrow drive for Be the Match for Paul Goodman, Hapa, biracial, half Japanese, half Caucasian boy who's looking for a bone marrow match. Anti-Asian elderly abuse.
oh yeah.
There's the what we call the Sakura Gardens or KI senior living facilities home that is it was bought by a company that's not treating the senior citizens correctly or with decency or with grace. So there's a lot of activism. There's a lot of me shouting and spouting, kinds of stuff. But in terms of TV and television, there's not a lot on the horizon. But there's one thing that I would like to say that I can say that my love and I, Daniel Blinkoff and I, are starting a new theater here in LA, along with 4 other what we call foundlings. It's called Outside In Theater, and it's a community theater which will have a physical space, which we call the analog space, as well as a streaming space, a digital space. So we have stories that we want to tell that represents the communities and the voices that have not been told. So that will open up probably in 2022 because we're doing the streaming right now, and we're building the building. So that's something that we're all looking forward to is presenting stories about people who need to be out there, who need to be stars like you guys, just to be able to say we're here and we're going to stay. It's like this is the part of the new world that we want to build, literally.
Well, I'm thankful you brought that up because I saw that was happening, and that's so amazing. And if the Nerds of Color can help in any way, we would love to.
Are you kidding? I take that to heart, and thank you. It's a real. We're not in competition with any of the other brothers and sister theaters here in LA or in California or across the nation. It's just we want to be a part of a system that really promotes stories that really got to be told. And the thing about it is that we're not pressured to make money. We do want to make money so we can pay everybody, but it's about the quality of stories. It's about the breadth of stories. It's about the depth of stories, to see people fall in love that aren't picture perfect, that look like, whatever, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. You could tell I'm a certain age. It's like the beautiful people. It's just like people who are just normal people who happen to fall in love, and their story is worthwhile telling. On Twitter, I read StoryCorps every day. They're, just 2 to 3 minute stories that are so uplifting because they're just normal people, and it speaks to the specialness and the uniqueness of their hearts, but it speaks to the universality of love and connection and of relationships. So go to StoryCorps, everybody, if you want a good story to be told every day.
I love it. Before our last question, I know Kat's getting ready to pop it in there.
Cool.
So the hair, because you look amazing. So is that pandemic hair? You wanted to try something new since you're not working right now? Because you can't, due to pandemic, you try new stuff.
Well, two things. This is pandemic. I have not seen my hairstylist since January of 2020 because we went to New York, Daniel and I, to see the Signature Theater's production of Cambodian Rock Band, written by Lauren Yee, which is a great, great, great show. And I hope you guys get to see it after pandemic. And of course, because I'm of a certain age, my grays come in, but I don't know if you can see, it's blue.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's totally blue.
I love the color.
So when that motherfucker came into that Asian girl and said, "You stupid blue-haired Asian bitch," I went, oh. So that's one of the reasons why I'm speaking out probably in the next couple of days, along with other people, because it feels like another pandemic on top of this pandemic that we've got to tackle and speak out against. If you want what? You want me to let down my hair?
Oh no, I was referring to the color. I love the color. Everybody can
very
experiment
good. It's very
right
flattering.
now,
Yeah, it's like, my ponytail is all, but I've always worn it like this because honoring my Japanese side, it's my samurai bun.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
That's so
Yeah,
cute.
because again, from Karate Kid to everybody knows that hairstyle, but in true Okinawan female hairstyle, it's all the hair piled up and then like a donut on top. So it's not as billowy that I portrayed it in Karate Kid 2, but in my everyday life is just Tammy. I just throw it up and the pony hangs and I just walk around like, Toshiro Mifune with the sword. So I'm always bopping around with it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, Kat, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Kat.
we like to end things since we are the nerds of color.
Yeah.
We like to add a little nerd check in at the end. So what are you nerdy about? What is something that you just nerd out about?
Oh, so many things. So many things. I mean, if you could see throughout our living room, we love cats. We love our 3 babies. So we nerd out about our cats every day. We think they're the most beautiful creatures ever.
I love that pillow behind you.
Yeah, the pillow with the cat.
Yeah. I think that's Frida Kahlo with a cat.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of that. And then back there, I think is a tiger cat or something. So we nerd out about cats and we nerd out about food. Seriously, my mom, she's getting some work done at her house, and she's so Asian. She's so Okinawan Filipino. I brought her split pea soup that I made last night, and then she gave me pinakbet with kabocha and okra in adobo sauce because she made adobo last week. But you don't waste the sauce, right? So you just throw vegetables in it. And it was so good. So Daniel is eating it and he goes, "Oh my God, it's so good." And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Your mom made this?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, because he doesn't want her just to cook just for us.
Mhm.
And I go, "You can't, she's a mom. She's a Filipino mom.
Oh,
yeah, you
yeah.
can't, yeah."
Did you eat?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
her love
Good for you.
language, right? That's
Yeah, it's her love language.
love language is the food.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So those are we love food, cats. Nothing extraordinary. Anytime you put George Michael,
Oh, hey,
George
that's
Michael,
great. Yeah.
I dance, and that's how I do the housework. It's like, I dance and I check myself out when I'm, washing the windows or, cleaning the mirrors. Like, yeah. Nerding out. I those are the things at the top of my head.
Yeah, those are great. Most people can't come up with one, and you've got a whole plethora of things that you're interested in. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, I wish I could be. Yeah, but yeah, those are the things for sure.
Yes.
I will die not ashamed of being nerdy about those things.
No, we love it.
Love it.
Tamlyn, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh gosh, you're so welcome. Thank you guys for having me, and good luck. I love this, Nerds of Color, and for all it's been, because it's about really telling the fuller picture of who we are, like you began. It's like, telling the picture of Tamlyn Tomita. It's like, let's tell the picture of every single one of us. And that's what I really, really want to promote out there. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll look forward to seeing all the rest of your shows. Yeah.
Definitely. How Yes. How can we're gonna have the information in the description. Another thing is how can they reach out to you online and follow you and keep up with your career and everything?
Insta and Twitter are both same handles, the Tamlyn Tomita. I don't answer because I don't know how, because as you can tell, I speak just vomit. So I don't, because I don't want to, make people feel bad that I'm not answering, but I try to put out messages of positivity or of activism. So if I don't answer you, please don't take offense, but I do appreciate that you do follow me, each and every one of you. And we are literally all in this together. So I do support in everything that each and every one of you do, especially if it's for the right thing. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Before we let you go, I just want to say, because I'm talking to a hero of mine, and I'm gonna try not to cry right now. But as I was telling the ladies earlier, you are very instrumental for me, getting close to my culture as a son of a military family. I'm being in a military family, and my mom's Filipino, my dad's Irish American, all of that, white. My mom's Filipina, but it was Karate Kid Part 2 that made me want to get close to my culture. I fell in love with Okinawa, Japan. And when later on, when I joined the military, that's the reason why I joined the military, because I wanted to go to Okinawa, Japan, visit the Far East and get closer to that side of me. But it was because of Part 2, Karate Kid Part 2, that made me want to learn more about my mom, because she's Filipina. Like, do we do that? Do we have some of those same kind of traditions and things? And so that's how I connected to the Filipino culture, but also falling in love with Okinawan culture through you, and also having a serious crush on you. You are one of my first Hollywood crushes. I love you so much. You are still so beautiful, and just again, you're my hero. Because just as an actor, as an activist, speaking out on things that are so important. Like I joined the Nerds of Color because I wanted to speak out on our representation, and it was because of people like you that were so vocal for us, and because I was tired of the stereotypical stuff I was getting all the time. And so I was like, you know what, let me get behind the camera so where I can have some say and into what I want to portray. Because I was tired. I didn't want to do that stuff. So I just cannot thank you enough. So I'm getting a chance to say thank you to a hero of mine. Tamlyn, thank you so much. I love you so very much. You have just been so very instrumental to me. And whew, all right, I love you.
Oh yeah, thank you. Because I tried to hold it as much as I could when you were speaking, because I didn't want to make you cry, but you made me cry. Just know that wherever we come from, and if it's just that movie, I'm just so thankful to be a part of it. And just know that your journey is more important than that. That you are speaking out to a group of people in the younger generations that will live on for, with your knowledge and with your growth and with your journey and your personal experience with it, because that's important. We are linked I'm not bigger than you. I'm not more important than you. I'm not more shinier than you. You are as important in your storytelling as I am to what you've been to this point. What we do together from now on is a stronger link. So that's what I'd like to give you back, is like we're again, it's the circle, it's the connectivity of how we share and why we share. Because if we get this privilege to be able to say thank you for what you've been to my life and what you have just given me, that makes the circle go around. And that's, how often do we get to say thank you, and to be a part of that is just really incredible and extraordinary, and it's such a treasure, it's such a gift. And thank you for that Filipino connection. Again, know that Okinawa and the Philippines are like this. There are so many Okinawan Filipino families. Oh my God. My mother and her sisters, her 6 sisters, my mother and her 3 sisters, half Okinawan, half Filipino. My mother married a Japanese blooded man. He's American, right? So the kids were 3414. Mm-hmm. Her sister married a full-blooded Filipino man, American. So those kids were 3414. Flip nips and nip flips. Yeah. It was, oh my God. So that was like kind of, that was the kind of specialness. And when I see, I've always jokingly said that, all the peoples around the world should just make love and make beautiful babies together. It's just like throw us all in, because we're all so beautiful.
I love you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Boom. There you go. Tamlyn Tomita, an icon, a hero to me, an advocate for AAPI representation for years, and just an amazing individual who will be there for you and just speak out, and just is just such a strength to all of us as AAPI actors, as just people in general of AAPI descent. She's telling our story in Hollywood, making sure we're properly represented. I cannot say enough, and I got to tell a hero that I love her and that she's amazing, and just that just meant so much. So I'm just in glow, and the fact that we started and she said that, because shout out to Keith Chow with the Nerds of Color, my partner with the knock. The fact that she already kind of knew about me is insane. So that kind of blew my mind. Because I just was inquiring, but she knows me. Like, wow.
It's that Filipino
You're
guy.
seen. Yeah.
I felt seen, yes.
She was gorgeous. Gorgeous inside and outside, and just spitting wisdom. It was amazing. I had such a great time, and I just feel invigorated. I could go for a run. I could karate some kids.
Come over, Kat. We'll spar.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. How about you, Tina?
I feel like everything that she said, I was like, I gotta write that down. I think the highlights for me was her saying how acting gave her voice and her power to be that representation, and not just like do cool things in front of a camera, but to set the record straight about who she's portraying and who she is. And like when she was busting those boxes, and like that was just so important, because how are other people going to tell you about your culture? Her message to do your homework, that her favorite part was the research behind it, like finding out who these characters were, who this person is, what's this culture about, and then properly expressing it, and then having that energy when she came back to Cobra Kai is just like, what a flex. Like, okay, yeah, we're gonna come back and do your show. Let's get some things right.
Right.
And
shout out to them for being accepting.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like that's the change that we want to see, and that's being the change that you want to see. And I loved her message is about activism and how, you know, I've never really thought of it or had it broken down to me in that way of activism is finding your voice and then uniting it with other voices. And it's like, yeah. So
Oh yeah. A lot of my heroes have let me down as I've gotten older. I don't know about you guys, and then finally through working in this entertainment world, I've been able to meet a lot of them, and I've been let down. To be honest, but it's beautiful when you have somebody you look up to and is really the hero, and she personifies that, and she continues to work on it. And she's always been that way, and it's so beautiful to see that. Because I've been let down, you know, with certain people that I've looked up to, and I'm happy because again, it really hurt when you find out that your heroes turned into villains, you know.
Yeah.
So just so amazing and so inspiring. But that was wonderful, and I'm seen. I feel still seen.
Yeah. Oh.
And I apologize to everybody that I cried, because we've cried on a few episodes, and this episode almost went without crying, but I talked to my hero, y'all, so I had to cry, and because I meant it. I meant every word.
Oh yeah, we were pro feelings.
Pro feelings. Feel your feels.
It's a ShoPowSho sweep if you can get all three of us to cry.
New bingo.
There we go.
All right, y'all.
You get no points for making me cry. You get 2 points for making Kuya Patrick cry. You get 5 points if you can make Kat cry.
I'm a Gemini. Leave me alone. Can't help it.
All right, y'all. That was a great one. Let us know what y'all think in the comments. Another amazing one. I love it, and I know I'm gonna watch this over and over again, and be inspired because it just was fascinating. Ladies, let's let them go so they can do what they do, and this was fun.
Tell them where we can find us. I'm Cataphoric. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok. You can also follow our ShoPowSho TikTok. Or if you want a little more behind the scenes, you can follow us and support us on Patreon or just buy us a coffee.
Coffee.
Tina!
I am Viva Valentina, and you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at viva.valentina or on Twitter and chess.com at VivaValentinaXO.
Yes. Amazing Ates. I love y'all. Always hold me down. This has been so much fun. Shout out to Cataphoric and Viva Valentina. Make sure you give them a follow. I am Kuya P. You can follow me at Strange Since 1977 and at Temple Far East, here at the Nerds of Color, where we represent POC perspective within pop culture, as well as at the NRW and at New Release Wednesday, where nerds rule the world. This has been another ShoPowSho. Shout out to Tamlyn Tomita. Thank you. Salamat po. Maraming salamat for being just who you are and speaking out for us. You paved the way for us AAP actors, and for all of us as a community as well, for that representation in Hollywood. Thank you. All right, y'all. This has been another ShoPowSho. Salamat. I'm forgetting my words because I'm just blown away by this week's episode. Mahakita. Salamat. We out of here. Bye, y'all.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for joining us at ShoPowSho. I'm Tamlyn Tomita, and I have the wonderful privilege and opportunity to chat with my fellow Pinay and Pinoy brothers and sisters here at the Nerds of Color, talking about all kinds of sitting down with all the sat, and just really breaking it down to what it means for all of us to be Americans of Filipino heritage and Asian American Pacific Islanders. So thank you for joining us. Hope to see us when we come out. And just remember to ShoPowSho. Hey, everybody, I'm Tamlyn Tomita. I'm in a little show called Cobra Kai, 34 years after a little film called Karate Kid 2. But I am a Pinay, proud of my Filipina heritage. Being Filipina, being of Filipino heritage is it's the most colorful side. It's the most beautiful side because it has the sunny star on its flag, and it's the most delicious food that you can ever put in your mouth. So eat some. Go Filipino power. Pinoys and Pinoys forever. Forever.